Billionaire reveals hidden test for Black Maid's child. Incredible ACT of kindness touches hearts. In the sprawling suburbs of Atlanta, Thomas Blake lived in a mansion that echoed with emptiness. His wealth, meticulously earned, was a shimmering facade against his gnawing sense of isolation. Every Sunday brunch with clinking glasses felt hollow, as he watched neighbors celebrate the lives he longed to share. Deep connections, laughter, and fulfillment. His heart ached for something more. Ruth Johnson, his maid, embodied strength. Each morning, relentless in her drive, she rose before dawn to prepare for work, ensuring Jamal, her gifted son, had everything he needed. She pushed through the grind, often pausing to smile at him as he absorbed books on the porch, dreaming big in their humble apartment. Her sacrifices were monumental. With every dollar earned, she forged a path for Jamal to escape poverty's chains. But systemic barriers loomed, casting shadows over their radiant hopes. One sweltering afternoon, Ruth returned from a brutal day of work, her tired limbs heavy with exhaustion and determination. It was then that Thomas caught a glimpse of her struggle. She packed countless rejections into her suitcase of dreams, hoping they'd somehow transform into opportunities for her son. Watching her fight ignited something in him, a powerful urge to make a difference, to rewrite the condition of privilege surrounding him. Driven by compassion mixed with guilt, Thomas schemed a hidden plan unfolding in the silence of his grand mansion. He would anonymously set up a scholarship fund for deserving local students, a mere click away from each screen, contingent upon a test for Jamal. Participation would reveal essential traits, he thought. Character, grit, qualities he cherished. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. When the news of a mysterious billionaire's test broke, confusion washed over Ruth. Suspicion flared as she stumbled upon Thomas's plan. Anger surged, accusations spilling from her lips. You think you can toy with my son's future? This isn't your playground. The words stung as they hung between them, her trust splintering like old floorboards beneath their feet. Neighbors watched, eyes trained in judgment, a polarized echo of their community. Some rallied behind Thomas, praising his intentions, while others hurled distrust and scorn, calling it a mere act of charity to soothe his conscience. Amid the chaos, Jamal sat quietly, grappling with expectations too heavy for his adolescent shoulders. The walls seemed to close in, taunting him with their proximity to success and the weight of failure. Yet, a flicker of vulnerability broke through the smog of misunderstanding. In that heated confrontation, as Ruth and Thomas locked eyes, they glimpsed the raw truths beneath their facades. Could her fierce independence and his privilege create a bridge instead of a chasm? A hesitant silence lingered, charged with hope. They stood polarized, but could they turn this moment of conflict into an opportunity for understanding? As Jamal faced his own demons of belief and ambition, the stakes couldn't be higher. With each passing moment, the question remained, could Thomas and Ruth reconcile their worlds? And would Jamal rise, not just to meet expectations, but to redefine them? The tension swelled, leaving its mark on the air, inviting readers into the journey of resilience and connection waiting to unfold. The silence hung like a thick fog between them, pulsating with unspoken words and questions. Thomas shifted nervously, his mind racing. Who did he think he was to devise a test for Jamal? Did he really believe he could dictate someone else's path? He had wanted to help, to change lives with a single stroke of his keyboard, but now doubt seeped into his heart. That Ruth's eyes blazed, fury and fear mixing into a fierce glare. You don't get it, do you? Her voice trembled. This is not just about money or offers on a piece of paper. It's about trust. It's about dignity. You think dropping breadcrumbs will erase the years of struggle? A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd, their neighbors, unsure of whom to support. Some clutched their kids tightly, as if the air had shifted from complacent acceptance to a charged atmosphere of confrontation. For a moment, Jamal felt invisible, trapped between the tumultuous emotions of the adults who shaped his world. He had watched his mother work every day, pouring her heart into ensuring he could reach for dreams beyond their cramped apartment walls. Yet, now he was caught in a storm that felt like it was swirling around him, with no clear path. He hesitated, afraid to speak but desperate to be understood. "Mom," he finally said, his voice steady yet vulnerable. "I want to try. I want to see what this test is all about." The declaration fell like a stone into the stillness, sending ripples of surprise through the onlookers. Ruth's jaw dropped, disbelief flashing across her features. "Jamal, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You're already more than enough." She took a step toward him, her maternal instincts clashing with her protective nature. "I know, Mom," he replied, searching her eyes. "But what if this is a chance? Not just for me, but for you? This could change everything. Maybe even for all of us." The words held a weight beyond his years, and Thomas couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration and guilt. Ruth's heart cracked open slightly at his words. Could the disappointment she felt toward Thomas be transformed into hope for her son? If Jamal truly believed this was an opportunity, could she step back and let him take this risk? As the tension morphed into a palpable energy, Thomas's resolve hardened. Watching Jamal, seeing the determination in his eyes, stirred something within him. This was more than just another charity stunt. This was a young man standing on the precipice of defining his future. "I'll make it different," Thomas interjected, stepping forward with resolve. "I'll ensure it reflects who you are, Jamal. We can shape this together." Ruth crossed her arms, skepticism battling curiosity. "You really think you can make this right?" "I want to," Thomas said earnestly. "I can be better than that man who thought he could decide what your future looked like." His gaze swept between both of them, searching for understanding. "Every step will involve you, the both of you." In that moment, a flicker of possibility ignited in Ruth's heart. Could they really collaborate to overcome the distance between them? Could this strange twist of fate bring them closer? But as she prepared to respond, a loud crash sounded from across the street. Gasps erupted as chaos unfurled, cars screeching, sirens wailing in the distance. The scene shifted instantly, pulling everyone from their moment of potential reconciliation. "What just happened?" Ruth asked, dread creeping over her. Jamal grasped his mother's hand. Their connection sharpened in the chaos as they turned to face the unknown. Thomas's heart raced. Boundaries were shifting, but would this event be the catalyst that connected their lives in unexpected ways? What dangers lay beyond the horizon? And could they find a way through the storm together? Jamal's heart hammered in his chest as he and Ruth turned. The noise of the crash echoed through the street, pulling the crowd's attention. Parents shielded their children, eyes wide with fear and confusion. Thomas instinctively stepped closer to them, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down. It felt like their previous conversation, filled with potential, had shattered like the glass that now littered the asphalt. "What is going on?" Jamal whispered to his mother, voice trembling slightly. He was still grappling with the aftermath of their conversation, and the sudden chaos swirled his thoughts into a thick fog again. Ruth squeezed his hand tighter, trying to anchor them both. "I don't know, baby." Her voice was steadier than her heart felt. "Just stay close to me." People began to move, bustling around as sirens drew near. A couple of neighbors rushed to the street where a small car had collided with a lamppost. The car's windshield was cracked, and the driver, a middle-aged man, clutched his arm in pain, his face pale as he surveyed the scene. "Someone call 911, shouted a bystander, rushing forward. "Is he okay?" Jamal's voice was barely above a whisper, but he couldn't tear his gaze away. The fear painted across his mother's face made his stomach twist. Ruth's instincts kicked in. "Stay here, Jamal," she murmured, breaking away from his side. She joined the gathering crowd, instinctively wanting to help, her heart racing yet resolute. Watching her go, Jamal felt a swell of anxiety. Without thinking, he followed, moving through the throng of onlookers until he reached the front. The man in the car groaned, and Ruth was kneeling beside him, assessing the situation, her familiar caring nature coming forth. Jamal felt pride swelling in his chest despite the chaos around him. "Help is coming," Ruth said, trying to keep the man calm. "Just breathe. Focus on me." Jamal watched his mother's hands move gently, checking his injuries. It reminded him of all the times he had seen her care for others back at home, even when they had little to give. Her compassion cut through the noise and pain, the way a beacon guides lost ships to safety. Suddenly, Jamal felt someone press against his shoulder. Turning, he saw Thomas, his eyes wide, scanning the scene. "Is she okay?" he questioned, concern etched into his features. "I think so," Jamal answered, trying to sound braver than he felt. "She is helping him." Just then, the sound of sirens grew louder, officially marking the arrival of the authorities. Jamal wrestled with his own doubts. Was today going to change his life? Or was it just another day where the chaos of the world intruded upon their hopes? As sirens blared and paramedics rushed to the scene, Jamal caught glimpses of the bystanders' faces. Some were concerned, others curious. The energy shifted. Maybe this was more than just an accident. Maybe it could ignite something deeper. Then, Thomas leaned closer, his voice low. "We need to talk after this. About the test, about everything." A knot tightened in Jamal's stomach. Could the sparks of hope still flourish amidst all this turmoil? Would they be able to focus on what really mattered after distraction ripped through their short-lived plans? The sirens screamed, and in that moment, a question slipped past Jamal's lips, stark against the chaos. Will we ever really get a chance to start over? The uncertainty loomed heavy like the smoke from the smoldering car. And as he looked up at Thomas, he wondered if perhaps this moment would mark not just an end, but a beginning to something none of them were expecting. Jamal's heart raced as he tried to make sense of the chaos around him. Sirens echoed like a heartbeat, but beneath that steady thrum, he could feel the panic rising within him. He watched as paramedics took control of the scene, their movements precise and assured. Ruth's voice faded into the background, though he knew she was still there, communicating with the man in the car. Thomas shifted beside him, anxiety clear in his eyes. "What do you think happened?" he asked, scanning the crowd, desperate for something to latch onto that might anchor him. Jamal shook his head. He had no answers, just a whirlwind of emotions that wouldn't settle down. As paramedics began to assess the injured man, Jamal's gaze drifted back to his mother. Ruth was talking to the driver now, her voice soothing like a gentle tide against a rough shore. Even in this chaos, she found her strength. It made Jamal's admiration for her bloom into something deeper. She always finds a way, he thought. Then, an unexpected voice broke through his reverie. "Hey!" It was Marcus, one of the neighborhood kids, barreling through the crowd. "What is happening? Did someone get hurt?" Before Jamal could respond, Thomas stepped forward, his brow creased. "Just a car accident, but I think everyone's okay. They're taking care of him." Marcus's young face scrunched in worry. "But what if it's really bad?" Jamal felt a tight knot of anxiety in his own stomach. "I don't know," he admitted softly. "But they're here now. That has to mean something, right?" Marcus nodded, but doubt lingered in his eyes. With a sudden burst of impulse, Jamal placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Look, this is scary for everyone, but it doesn't change how we live. We gotta keep hope, even when it seems like everything's a mess." "Hope," Marcus echoed. The innocence in his voice tugged at something deep inside Jamal, revealing a thread of bravery he wasn't entirely sure he possessed. Just then, another paramedic, tall and authoritative, approached Ruth. "Ma'am, thank you for your help. We've got this from here," he said, his tone both grateful and firm. Jamal felt an unexpected rush of relief. Ruth stood, brushing dust from her knees. She looked over at Jamal, a tired smile breaking through her concern. "See, everything's going to be all right," she said, though her eyes still held a flicker of worry. That smile filled Jamal with warmth, but it was short-lived as she turned back to the driver. He could see the lines of stress etched on her face. What was she really feeling inside? The contrast of the crushing realization hit him hard. Despite the immediate danger fading, life would keep throwing challenges their way. "Jamal," Thomas's voice broke through again, more determined this time. "We really need to talk. Not just about the test, but about—" he hesitated, glancing back as if the world around them might distract them once again. "About everything. We can't forget." Jamal nodded solemnly, but confusion bubbled to the surface. What if the conversation changes everything? He thought, both excited and terrified. What if it brings about the very change we need? "Hey, look," Marcus interrupted, pulling their attention back to the scene. "They're helping him. That's good, right?" Jamal's chest lifted slightly. Maybe things could shift. Maybe today could be the day everything started to change. But as bittersweet relief flickered across the crowd, Jamal couldn't shake the question gnawing in his mind. What happens next? The gravity of everything stretched before him like a shadow, ready to sweep them up again. And as he glanced at Thomas, he wondered, could he face whatever came next head-on, or would fear tighten its grip once more? As the emergency lights flickered, casting a surreal glow over the scene, Jamal felt the air shift. It was a reminder that beneath the chaos, life continued to unfold. The paramedics were now intently focused on the injured man. Each one moved with a sense of purpose that grounded Jamal amidst the whirlwind of anxiety surrounding him. "Jamal, let us step away," Thomas urged, pulling him gently back from the crowd. "We need to find a quieter spot." Jamal followed, his heart still racing. Each step felt heavier, laden with the weight of uncertainty. They found a small clearing beside a row of parked cars, the noise of the world muffled but still present. Jamal could hear the distant voices of people in the crowd and the faint whir of the ambulance. Thomas ran a hand through his hair, his nerves evident. "Okay, about what we were talking about earlier," he began, but his voice trailed off. Jamal noticed the way Thomas's eyes darted around, as if searching for the right words in the air. "It's okay, man," Jamal said, his voice more steady than he felt. "You can tell me what's on your mind." Thomas started, taking a deep breath after seeing all this. "It's got me thinking about life, about how quickly everything can change." He paused, searching Jamal's face for understanding. "What if something happened to our families? Or to us?" The truth of those words cut deep. Jamal nodded, the fear clawing at his insides. "Yeah, it scares me too. What if we took that fear and turned it into something positive?" Thomas suggested, his voice gaining confidence. "What if we fought for something more? Switched it up instead of just surviving?" Jamal felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. "You mean like, make a plan?" "What kind of plan?" "I don't know yet," Thomas admitted, sincerity written all over his features. "But we can start with doing better in school. We can create a study group or something. Get others involved. Make a real difference." Before Jamal could respond, Marcus bounded into the clearing, his youthful exuberance a welcome distraction. "Did you see? They're putting him on a stretcher. I think he'll be okay." That spark of unfiltered joy was infectious. Jamal and Thomas exchanged hopeful glances as Marcus's energy wrapped around them like a breath of fresh air. In that moment, the chaos and fear felt a touch lighter. "See, we just gotta keep believing," Jamal said, feeling a sense of purpose beginning to grow inside him. "It might be hard, but we can do it together." "I want to help too," Marcus chimed in, his eyes shining. "I'll tell everyone at school what we're doing. They'll want to join." Jamal's heart swelled. The three of them, united by more than just this moment, could transform that fear into action. It was a bond forming that could change everything for them. But just as they began to exchange ideas, the shrill sound of the siren cut through their conversation, pulling them back to reality. The paramedics were retreating now, but there was still tension in the air. "What if there are more people who need us?" Thomas said quietly, looking at the scene unfolding before them. "What if this is the start of something bigger?" Jamal felt the thrill of possibility coursing through him, but with that came another wave of apprehension. "We shouldn't wait, right?" he murmured, glancing toward his mother and the crowd that still lingered. As Marcus began sharing his own ideas to rally the neighborhood, Jamal's gaze flickered back to where Ruth stood. She was watching them now, a knowing smile on her face. Could she sense the shift within him? Did she see the heart beginning to grow stronger? Jamal clenched his fists, determination boiling over. They could change their paths. They could rise above whatever life threw at them. But looming behind that determination was a question that still hung heavy. What sacrifices would they have to make to ignite that change, and were they all ready to embrace it together? As Marcus enthusiastically described potential plans for their study group, Jamal found himself caught between hope and uncertainty, wondering how far they were willing to go. Would they all be ready when the time for action really came? Jamal stood there, the weight of uncertainty pressing down harder now. As Marcus spoke excitedly about how they could turn their dreams into reality, Jamal's mind raced. The flickering lights of the ambulance were still painting shadows on the pavement, a reminder of the fragile lives around him. That moment wasn't just a crisis. It was sparking a revolution inside him. But could they really do this? Was it too ambitious to think they could change things? Are we really ready for this? Jamal finally asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. Marcus's smile didn't waver. We just have to start small. We can talk to everyone during lunch tomorrow. I can make posters. Jamal's heart bounced at Marcus's enthusiasm. It felt so genuine, so pure. If they could harness that fire, maybe it would reach others. Not just their friends, but everyone. Okay, Thomas interjected, looking at Jamal knowingly. But we need a plan. It can't just be about posters and words. We have to show people how we can make a difference. Jamal nodded, feeling the weight of leadership settling on his shoulders. He turned serious, right? We should set goals. We can have study sessions in the park, maybe invite people to join us on weekends. We could even offer tutoring for kids in our neighborhood. Exactly. Marcus shouted, his hands clenched in excitement. And I can help with games. Learning is more fun when you make it a game. The adults might even get involved. As they brainstormed, Jamal felt a warmth growing inside. They were all excited, working together. But there was still a chilled anxiety lingering at the edges of his thoughts. Talking it out was one thing. Following through would be another. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the tension. The sound echoed from across the parking lot. Caught off guard, all three boys turned. A car had backed into another vehicle, metal crumpling and glass splintering. Panic surged through the crowd again, drawing the attention of the group. Jamal's stomach dropped as he instinctively glanced back to where his mother stood. Let us go see, Thomas suggested, his voice steadying, grounding Jamal once again. They left their temporary haven, pushing through the gathering crowd, back towards the scene. The hopeful plans they crafted just moments ago still buzzed in the air like a vibrating cord as they approached the accident. Jamal caught sight of a woman, neatly dressed but in tears. She was shaking, leaning against her car. Jamal's heart went out to her. What if that were his own mother? The emotional landscape shifted. This wasn't just an accident to watch. It was someone's life unraveling before them. Hey, are you okay? Jamal found himself asking, moving closer to the distraught woman. She looked up, startled, her eyes glistening with fear and confusion. I don't know, she stammered, her hands trembling, which only made Jamal realize the power of connecting through kindness. He glanced back at Thomas and Marcus, who were watching him with uncertain eyes, as if waiting for guidance. He knew that connections were what they sought, and what they could offer, even in moments of crisis. Let us help her, Jamal declared softly. Whatever happens, let us just be there for her. The others nodded, but a question loomed over Jamal. Would they have the capacity to help others while trying to lift themselves? Was their resolve strong enough to turn their plans into meaningful actions? As they approached the woman together, determination filled Jamal's chest. But would this act of kindness be the turning point they desperately needed, or was it just a distraction from the greater hurdles ahead? He caught Marcus's eye, still shining with hope. They could be more than observers. They could be the change. But as they reached out to comfort a stranger, Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was just beginning. Jamal stepped forward, his heart pounding in a mix of fear and resolve. The woman looked so fragile, like a bird with a broken wing. He had never faced anything like this before, but something inside him urged him to move, to reach out. Are you hurt? He asked gently, hoping to draw her out of her fog of panic. She shook her head, but her tears flowed like a river, painting her cheeks a desperate shade of sorrow. I don't know what to do, she whispered, her voice trembling. Thomas stepped closer, nodding. You're not alone. We're here. We can help. The woman's gaze shifted from Jamal to Thomas, her eyes searching for something solid amidst the chaos. Jamal could see her slowly absorbing their words, a flicker of trust forming in the depths of her eyes. That glimmer reminded him how powerful simple kindness could be, the way it extended lifelines when everything felt lost. Let us just sit with her, Marcus suggested, visibly moved. He knelt beside the woman, making himself small and less threatening. You can talk about what just happened if you want, or we can just sit here with you. Whatever helps. With that, Jamal and Thomas took a seat too, forming a little circle of support against the overwhelming tide of onlookers. As they waited, the murmurs around them faded into the background. What mattered now was this moment, this woman who needed help, and them being there to provide it. Minutes felt like hours as the woman began to breathe more steadily. Gradually, she found her voice again. It was my fault, she choked out, glancing at the wreckage of her car. I wasn't paying attention. My mind was elsewhere. The honesty of her confession struck Jamal. He felt a connection that pulled him closer to her pain. We all have moments like that, he offered gently. We're just human. She looked at him, surprised. How can you be so forgiving? Because it's okay to mess up, Jamal replied. What matters is how we fix things moving forward. For an instant, her eyes lit up with hope, and Jamal felt that warmth spreading within him again. She wasn't alone anymore. Maybe, just maybe, they could do this. As sirens wailed in the distance, signaling help was on the way, Jamal felt a surge of energy welling up. Maybe this was what they needed to inspire them even more, the rush of doing something good, something real. They could face the bigger challenges ahead after this. Behind him, he heard a familiar voice. It was his mother rushing towards him, eyes wide in concern. The sight sparked a rush of panic, but he forced himself to stay calm. She knew of his ambitions. She watched him grow, wrestling with what it means to make change. Jamal, she called, holding her hands out. Are you okay? He turned to the woman, who was now watching with a mix of appreciation and curiosity about him, about this boy who dared to reach out. We've got this, he reassured her before heading toward his mom. Everything is okay, Mom. Just stay with her, he urged, gesturing toward the woman. Still finding her footing as his mother joined them. Jamal felt a weight lift. This moment was far beyond just an accident. It was a bridge to something bigger, a chance to prove that they could stand together. But as the paramedics arrived, the nagging concern fluttered inside him. Was this just the first step, or were there darker roads ahead they hadn't yet glimpsed? In the crowd, Jamal caught sight of Marcus and Thomas, solid and unwavering, their eyes bright with determination. Together, they could push through the noise and find a clearer path. Yet, as he turned back to the woman, the unanswerable question lingered. What would it really take to heal not just her wounds, but also their own? As the sirens faded into the distance, Jamal resolved that they would not stop here. Each small act of kindness could act as a compass, redirecting them toward a future he could almost reach out and touch. But first, they had to learn to face their own demons. What came next would be the real challenge. Would their small collective spark ignite into a true flame? The moment the paramedics stepped out of their van, the air thickened with urgency. Jamal glanced back at the woman, who was slowly regaining color in her cheeks, yet the shadows of despair still loomed in her eyes. It wasn't just an accident she was facing. It felt like an avalanche of consequences looming just beyond the horizon. Here they are, Thomas announced, gesturing toward the medics, his own voice steadied by the presence of authority. Jamal turned to his mother, searching for reassurance. She gave him a slight nod, and her eyes glimmered with pride. For a fleeting second, he felt invincible, as if together they could move mountains. Let them take care of things, she said softly, squeezing his arm. There was comfort in her touch, and he refocused on the scene. The paramedics approached the woman, carefully assessing her condition. Their professionalism elevated the atmosphere, and Jamal felt that flicker of hope ignite anew. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a more profound journey. Marcus and Thomas were still by his side. They quietly exchanged looks, as if sharing a secret pact of support amidst the chaos. Jamal could sense the depth of their commitment, a promise to not just support the woman, but to face whatever challenges this day would unveil. As the paramedics began their evaluation, Jamal took a moment to observe the crowd. People had formed a wide circle around them, many holding their phones out, recording the spectacle. Instead of finding solace in the act of kindness, it felt as if the public was hungry for a fleeting moment of drama. Yet was that the story they needed right now? Hey, Marcus interrupted his thoughts, gently nudging him. Let us go check on her car. Maybe there is something we can do. Jamal nodded, hesitating. He didn't want to abandon the woman, but he also felt an unshakable urge to help in any way he could. Together, they walked slowly toward the damaged vehicle, the twisted remains still smoldering slightly, the scent of burnt metal tinged with despair. Look at this, Thomas said, pointing to a nearby street sign, bent and crooked. Her mind must have been somewhere else. We all drift sometimes, don't we? Yeah, Jamal replied, swallowing hard. It's just life, I guess. Distractions can get the best of anyone. They stood there in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. the weight of their reflections pressing upon them. Jamal felt an emerging clarity, a deeper understanding of his mission. This wasn't just about helping one woman. It was about acknowledging the collective struggles that connected all of them. But a sudden chill ran down his spine when he remembered something. What if we organized a community meeting or something? He blurted out, his heart racing at the prospect. To talk about support, mental health, and being there for each other? Marcus and Thomas exchanged looks of consideration, leaning into his idea. That could be big, Marcus replied, enthusiasm lighting up his features. We could involve parents, schools, even local businesses. Make it a real movement. Jamal's pulse quickened, each beat echoing his growing excitement. It felt right, building a bridge of understanding and compassion, creating a hands-on approach to rising together. Time seemed to dissolve as they brainstormed possibilities, until the woman's voice cut through the air, clear and fragile. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause a scene. They turned back, witnessing her awkward attempt to comfort the paramedics, who were now questioning her gently. Jamal's heart sank at the sight. She still felt burdened by shame. Hey, he called out, feeling the urge to lift her spirits. This isn't about blame. It's a fresh start, not an ending. Her gaze met his in surprise, and for a moment, a recognition sparkled between them. Perhaps they could be each other's lifelines, not just in times of crisis, but in the everyday battles of life. In the back of his mind, though, a darker question persisted. What lay beyond this moment? Were they ready to turn the page, or would they too succumb to their own distractions and fears? Somehow, they would need to embrace the battles hidden in the corners of their hearts. And for that, Jamal was determined to find out. Would they truly embrace the journey ahead, stepping into the unknown together? Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that everything hung in a delicate balance. He glanced at the woman, who sat on the stretcher, the medics tending to her with gentle care. It was as if she was a tiny island in an ocean of chaos, where everyone around was merely an observer. He wished he could do more, like reach out and take away her burdens, if only it was that simple. Do you think she's okay? Thomas asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I hope so, Jamal murmured, still focused on her eyes. There was a deep sadness there that seemed to call out to him. He wanted to understand her pain, to know what battles raged behind those glances. Maybe we should talk to her again, Marcus suggested, already taking a step forward. She might need to hear someone saying it's okay to feel how she feels. Jamal hesitated, but recognition flashed in Marcus's eyes. Simon, man. She needs us. We need her. With a nod, they approached the woman again, whose breaths were steadying but still a little unsteady. The paramedics had moved on to gathering information, and there was a soft vulnerability about her, as if she were a flower trying to bloom in the shade. Hey, Marcus said gently. We're here. Do you want to talk? She looked up, surprise mingled with gratitude. I'm not sure what to say. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't mean. Jamal stepped closer, quick to interrupt. You don't have to say anything. Sometimes it's just about being here, together. You're not alone. For a brief moment, he saw something flicker in her eyes. Maybe it was relief. Thank you, she whispered. I feel like I messed everything up. No, Thomas corrected her softly. This isn't messed up. It's a moment, and moments can change. You're facing something difficult, and that's okay. We all have our burdens. With every word, Jamal felt his heart sink and swell, torn between the sorrow they all felt and the hope that flickered in the air. They were talking not just to the woman, but to their own fears and insecurities. Their voices melded, creating a fragile bridge of connection that the paramedics prepared to transport her. Jamal raised his hand. Can we at least know your name? Diana, she replied, her voice now steadier. Diana Lewis. Nice to meet you, Diana. I'm Jamal, and this is Thomas and Marcus. We're here for you, he said, letting the warmth of that moment envelop them. Thank you. Really, Diana said, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears. I've just felt so lost lately. This just makes it worse. Her admission marinated in the air like a poignant scent. Jamal realized that they weren't just addressing her accident. Her struggles ran deeper than he could have imagined. She carried not just the weight of the crash, but the burdens life imposed every single day. Hey, Marcus spoke up with soft intensity. You're not alone, right? We're all figuring things out day by day. What do you say we start something good from here? Something that helps not just you, but others too? Diana's gaze darted between the three boys, the flicker in her eyes hinting at a glimmer of hope. You mean like a support group? Exactly, Jamal said, feeling a surge of excitement run through him. We can turn this into something beautiful. Help each other heal. As Diana nodded slowly, a fragile smile spread across her face. I would like that. I really would. Jamal's heart swelled with renewed purpose. The shared struggle they all felt could be transformed into strength. Yet, in the back of his mind, a nagging thought echoed: what if it was easier to fall back into familiar habits and ignore the call for change? But there was something powerful about the connection they had just forged, and he couldn't let it go. As the paramedics rolled her away, Jamal made her a silent promise he would be there, steering not just himself, but others toward an awakening. Let us do this, Diana, he vowed quietly, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but determined to help craft something extraordinary from the ashes of despair. As the paramedics drove away, Thomas turned to Jamal, a spark in his eyes. You think she'll really want to join us? It's not going to be easy. Easy doesn't matter, Jamal countered, the heat of determination steadying his voice. If Diana is willing to step forward, it'll mean everything. They stood together, watching the van disappear down the road, hearts pounding with anticipation. They had ignited something powerful, a whisper of a movement that could reshape not just their lives but countless others. Little did they know, the biggest test was yet to come. Would they truly be able to stand strong when the calling of their hearts pulled them deeper into the chaos? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the neighborhood, a sense of change hung in the air, electric yet promising. Jamal, Thomas, and Marcus gathered on the porch of Jamal's apartment, the hum of crickets providing a backdrop to their hopeful plans. Ruth stood nearby, her heart swelling with pride at her son's emerging leadership. Today, we witnessed something bigger than an accident, Jamal began, his voice steady and passionate. We faced fear, but also opened our eyes to possibilities. Diana inspired us, right? This isn't just about rescuing a stranger. It's about lifting each other up to build a community. Yeah, Marcus chimed in, enthusiasm radiating from him. Imagine if we could pull together more people. This could turn into a real thing, a movement. Each idea they threw out sparked energy, igniting a fire in Jamal's chest. Ruth moved closer, covering her smile with her hand. Whatever you boys need, I'm behind you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. It's time for your dreams to take flight. They discussed plans late into the night. They sketched out ideas for a community meeting, a chance for residents to gather and share experiences. Jamal envisioned guest speakers, local leaders who could inspire change and share their stories. We need a name, Jamal said, his brow furrowed in thought. Something that shows unity. Together we rise, Thomas suggested. It hung in the air, resonating like a perfect note in a song. Yes, Marcus shouted, the enthusiasm palpable. It's bold and hopeful. It's about lifting each other. Jamal's smile widened. Let us make flyers, talk to everyone, and get the word out. There was tangible excitement now. They shared ideas, first shy then bold, laughing and enthusiastically crafting a plan that felt not just ambitious, but necessary. As they wrapped up that night, Jamal felt an exhilarating mix of determination and hope. A vision was forming, a ripple that could spark a wave of change in their community. But beneath that anticipation, he felt the weight of expectations pressing down. The stakes had never felt higher. The following morning, Jamal and Thomas teamed up to create a flyer. Jamal's hands trembled slightly as he designed it. How does this look? He finally asked, showing it to Thomas. The look of admiration on Thomas's face fueled him. It's perfect, man. This is going to be the start. Sure, but what if we can't get anybody to show up? What if they don't believe in us? Jamal's brow furrowed, uncertainty creeping in. Then we'll keep trying, Thomas affirmed. Together, we can reach them. We just need to show them this matters. With renewed courage, they hit the streets, knocking on doors and slipping flyers into mailboxes. They spoke to neighbors about the community meeting, sharing the vision of Together We Rise. As they rallied enough interest, Jamal's heart began to swell with conviction. At school, they put their plans into action, Marcus spreading word among the student body. Days turned into weeks, and excitement buzzed around the event. The enormity of the moment loomed, But each handful of support filled Jamal with a sense of purpose. Finally, the day arrived. Jamal stood at the center of the park, bright banners flapping in tandem with the setting sun, as neighbors gathered, chatting in eager anticipation. Jamal's throat tightened with nerves, glancing at the faces around him. This was their moment. As he approached the microphone, a collective silence fell upon the crowd, the tension palpable. "Thank you all for coming today," he began, his voice quaking slightly. "This is about more than just a meeting. It's about coming together as a community to support one another." With every word, Jamal felt the weight lifting. They listened, connected, sharing stories. They revealed struggles faced, laughter erupting around stories of joy and triumph. Jamal watched as Diana stepped up to share her journey, her voice steady now, confident and inspiring. Applause erupted like thunder, warming Jamal's heart. Ruth stood at the edge of the crowd, tears glimmering in her eyes, pride bubbling within her. This was her boy, her incredible Jamal, embarking on a journey that would change lives. The meeting sparked an array of initiatives, tutoring sessions, mental health discussions, and support groups. Each event opened doors. Connections began to weave through the community, stitching together hearts that had once felt distant. Change was no longer a distant dream. It was being written into every soul, igniting hope within families. Jamal felt invigorated. This wasn't just about getting ahead. It was about lifting one another, creating a bond that could break through barriers. "Together we will rise," Jamal declared at the subsequent meetings, the mantra echoing, resonating deeper each time. As Jamal, Marcus, Thomas, and Ruth stood together one evening, surveying their community, reveling in newfound connections, laughter filled the air. Jamal turned to his friends, a chin-up defiance settling in his heart. "We did it. We're changing lives." The trio embraced, a promise forged in unity. They knew life wouldn't always be easy, but they had each other and now a community backing them. That a sense of transformation lingered, and as Jamal looked out over the park, illuminated by flickering lights and radiant smiles, he realized they had penned the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. Together, they had sparked hope and resilience, proving that even the smallest acts of kindness could create a ripple effect of change. And in that moment, nothing felt more powerful. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this amazing transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second, to bring others along in this journey of hope and connection. Let's keep rising together.